Have you ever taken a picture and the skin tones were just off? You weren't quite sure what was causing it. Could be a reflection, could be mixed lighting, it could be your light source bouncing off of something else near your subject and just causing really weird skin tones. Today I'm going to show you one way to correct skin tones using the point color, one of the new features inside of Lightroom 13. What's going on, everybody? Jay LeBlanc here, wedding photographer and photography educator. This video isn't meant to be the "this is the only way to do it" type of video, but let's see how some of the new features hold up against some of the old methods. This video is just showing you one way to get correct skin tones using some of the new features inside of Lightroom. In the past, I've corrected skin tones many different ways. I've already made a couple videos explaining the new features inside of Lightroom 13. I'll link them down below. Today, I'm just going to show you how to correct skin tones using one of these new features. Alright, here we are inside of Lightroom, and I've loaded in a couple different pictures into a collection for us. Each of them have different problems with skin tones for different reasons. This first picture that I have is from a wedding that I recently shot, and as you can see, I have the bride and groom posed up against this really cool classic car that they had at the wedding. The problem, I don't know if you can see it already, is that the sun was coming from camera left, shining down onto this very pink vehicle, and then creating a nice pink cast right in their faces. So if you look a little bit closer, you can see along his ear, his nose, her face. It's just a little bit of a pink hue to it. So what we're going to do is check out the point color underneath our color mixer, one of the new tools inside of Lightroom, and see if we can correct this pink cast that we're getting from the sun reflecting off of this vehicle. The first step to using the point color is we got to click on our eyedropper and select the color that we want to fix. So what I'm going to do is come over here to the side of his nose where we have a little bit of that pink cast and click on it. It's going to bring up all of our options over here for our point color. The first thing we're going to do is play around with this hue a little bit. I know that he has a pink cast in his face, so I'm obviously not going to shift this more pink and make them look like Barney. I'm also not going to go crazy and make them look like Hulk. We got to find a nice even ground here. And I've found from using this for correcting skin tones, you really don't want to go too heavy on some of your adjustments. So what I'm going to say is make very, very small adjustments. And we're going to zoom in here a little bit just so we can get a little bit closer to look and see what's going on. So I'm going to raise my hue up, let's say like 4. And I'm just going to click our eyeball on and off. And you don't even really see anything going on. You can actually see it more in her face than you can in his. But there's a very, very subtle difference there, which helps remove a little bit of that pink cast. Next thing I'm going to do is take this saturation down just a little bit. Let's say -12. Yeah, that looks good. We don't want to desaturate it too much and make them look like they're dead. And we obviously don't want to go the opposite direction and make it look like they had an accident in a spray tan booth. Oof, nobody likes that. Well, I'm from New Jersey, and please don't stereotype me with those people, but some people around here do like that look. Alright, so we're going to keep it at -10. Yeah, that looks about right. And then the last one is our luminance. And then with our luminance, it looks like their skin's a little bit bright still because we are reflecting off of a light pink surface. So I'm just going to drop it down about -3. And then one other thing I want to adjust here is I want to affect both of their skin tones a little bit more, and he is a little bit more fair than she is. It looks like she got some sun before the wedding and he did not get as much sun. So what we're going to do is expand our hue range just a little bit. So I'm going to go a little bit more towards the pink, but I'm also going to go a little bit more towards the orange where you would normally find skin tones to kind of lie in. So as you can see, I'm going to turn this off and then on, off, and on. It's going to make a much more natural skin tone. Now, let me preface this first. When it comes to correcting skin tones, there's so many factors that go into it. So I'm going to say when it comes to adjusting skin tones, there is a subjective factor involved with it. Now I don't remember exactly what this couple's skin tones look like, and they're not sitting next to me right now for me to reference. So I have to kind of go off of memory. What I've done so far, it looks pretty much what I remember. And what I've adjusted so far looks like what I remember their skin tones to be. Now you also have to factor in, nowadays most people do not print pictures. As a photographer, yes, you want to get as close and accurate as possible. You have to remember, once you send this picture to your clients or you post it on social media and people are viewing this image on their own devices, which most likely aren't as calibrated as yours being a photographer, you're going to lose a level of control. And when you lose that level of control, they might look at this image on their computer and it could be totally different. That's something you just have to kind of let go. And just keep in the back of your mind, which is why you don't have to be 100% perfect when it comes to this stuff. Now, if you are shooting product or for a company where colors do matter, yeah, you probably want to be pretty perfect. And I would suggest you throw a gray card into the shot and shoot one. That way you make sure you have perfect colors. But when it comes to weddings, you don't use a gray card. It's a lot more run and gun type of stuff. You're moving around a lot. Lighting's constantly changing. So you have to get it pretty close. Doesn't have to be perfect though. Just remember at the end of the day that most of your clients don't have the same keen eye for color that you do as a photographer. You have to learn how to let go a little bit. And when you get it good enough, I think you just move on. One thing I really like to do if there's an image that I find myself working on too long and I just can't quite get it right, what I'll do is I'll walk away, I'll go get a drink of water, I'll go pet my dog for 2 minutes, come back, and then take another look at it. And at that point, make the decision if I can just move past it or if it does need a little bit more tweaking. And one thing I want to note, we have these gradients over here above all of our sliders. The little black dot is the point where we sampled. The white circle is where our adjustments are shifting the color to. We can use these sliders down here, or you can actually just click this white circle and drag it around if you wanted to. And as you drag around the circle, you'll notice the sliders below it are shifting as well. So within this big gradient here, as we drag it around, we are adjusting our hue and our saturation. And then the one to the right, as we drag that around, the only thing we're adjusting is our luminance. That one just slides up and down. I personally am a bigger fan of using the sliders with the number so I can visually see how much I am changing something. I feel like it's a little bit more accurate that way. Alright, so this picture is from a recent event that I shot, and it was actually really cool. These kids were awesome performers. But as you can see, this room has a lot of different things going on here. First of all, we got a lot of different light sources. Second of all, we have this carpet that, if you ask me, definitely needs to be updated. But I'm not an interior designer or anything. I just photograph whatever's available. So what I'm seeing here is we have like some orange lights going on in the background. And then what you can't see in the picture is there is a really, really cool color temperature LED light directly above them. And that is making their skin tones kind of like washed out and dull. And that's really where we're going to focus our attention to try and correct what's going on here. So the first thing that we're going to do, grab our eyedropper from our point color, and we're going to go ahead and just, I'm going to click on his cheek right about here. And that's a decent selection. First thing I want to do is I want to take the hue and I'm going to shift it a little bit more towards this yellow-orange. And we're going to be gentle with it. We don't want to go too far and make them look, you know, like the Hulk, or we don't want to go too far the other direction and make them look like the girl from Willy Wonka who turned into a blueberry. So I'm going to go just with 5. Yeah, 5 looks good. And then we're going to go down to our saturation shift, and I'm going to increase the saturation because that LED light and the blue carpet is really taking away from their skin tones. Let's go to 20. 20 looks good. Yeah. It helps put a little bit more color back into their skin, makes them look a little bit more lively. And last but not least, what I'm going to do is go to the luminance shift. And because their skin is getting blown out just a little bit, I'm going to bring this down just a little here, just to help put a little bit more of that color back into their skin. Cool. Also, we're dealing with 4 people here. 4 people who all have slightly different skin tones and who are also slightly different positions underneath these lights. So you have the 2 guys up front who are a little bit lower. They're closer to this blue carpet. You have this girl back here who's standing up nice and tall, and she's the closest to the light sources directly overhead of them. So what I'm going to do is in the hue range, I'm going to leave that alone for the most part. I think it does a pretty good job at selecting their skin tones for the most part. The saturation, I'm not too worried about, but like I said, they're all in different positions in relationship to the light source. So what I want to do is increase our luminance range because some of them are a little bit brighter, some of them are a little bit darker. So I'm going to grab this tab here, I'm going to drag it up to include more of the highlights, and I'm going to take this tab and drag it down just a little bit to include a little bit more of the shadows. Now what I'm seeing in their face is a little bit more natural of a skin tone. So if I click on my little eyeball right here, we can see before and after, and I'll zoom in here so you get a better idea of what is going on. Before, after, before. Skin tones look kind of dull and muted, and not a lot of color, and then after we have something that looks a little bit more natural. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good from a subjective standpoint on my monitor that's calibrated, but who knows? You could be watching this on a phone or a TV and it looks terrible to you. Like I said before, it's all subjective, and once it is out of your computer, it's out of your control. And who knows what device people are going to be viewing it on, and if their device is even calibrated. So I have one more image here to check out. This image imposes a whole different set of problems. What we're dealing with here is multiple light sources. So as you can see on the right hand side, we have window lighting, which is nice and cool lighting. And then it's hard to tell, but coming from camera left, there is an incandescent light, and also this room is full of just really old dark wood tones. So it is making her look a little bit reddish orange over here in the face. So we're going to work on correcting this. First thing I'm going to do is just apply a basic preset that I do to almost every picture. You can see some of the adjustments that are being made over here. And I think I'm going to increase the exposure a little bit, not too much. I kind of like this nice little highlight line. And then we're also going to correct our white balance. And now I know for this room, this window ledge was white. So I'm going to click on that and use it as kind of my reference point. This is what we're left with. As you can see, this highlight that's on her face coming from the window light, great white balance. The other side of her face has got a lot of different things going on between the very orange light sources in the room and the deep red tones that you have of the wood in the room as well. And you can really see it here in the makeup artist's hand. So we're going to start this off just like we did with the other ones. We're going to click on our eyedropper, and I'm going to select like a point up here in her forehead. I don't love doing the cheeks because when it comes to doing makeup, they usually put like blush tones in the cheeks, and that tends to be a little bit more red anyway, and we don't want to completely remove that. So I'm going to go something with up here in her forehead. So we're going to click on her forehead, and we're going to make some adjustments here. First thing we're going to do is our hue. I think we're going to go a little bit towards the yellow. Again, this is minor adjustments. We don't want to go crazy with this. We don't want to make them look too yellow or too orange or anything. So be gentle. Be nice. You know, like it's your first time. Anyway, now I'm going to come down here to our saturation shift. And I think I'm going to drop our saturation down just a little bit. Just a little bit. And we're going to click our little eyeball here to see the changes that we've made so far. And it's already looking much, much better. And then for our luminance, I think I'm going to brighten it up just a little bit to add a little bit more color back into her skin. A little bit more life. And I think that's heading in the right direction there. Compared to where we started off, where the skin tones are super red, to here where it's a little bit more balanced. I'm actually going to go ahead and select this eyedropper and select another point, because I do see in the makeup artist's hands there is definitely a lot more of that red. I'm going to click that, and then we're going to get a swatch that's a little bit more of a red tone opposed to the skin tone that we got from the bride's face. Again, we're going right down this list. Lightroom is pretty smart with their design of the way it's laid out, because what they want you to do is go from top to bottom in that order. Yeah, you can skip around a little bit, but it's really designed to go from top to bottom. So I'm going to start from hue, and again, we're going to make some adjustments here. We're going to go a little bit more towards this yellowish orange and pull some of that red out. I'm going to go ahead and desaturate just a little bit of that red. And our luminance, we're going to bring up the brightness just a little bit here. And now, I don't really want this affecting too much of our skin tone, so I'm actually going to take our hue range, and I'm going to shift it a little bit more towards the left. So we're affecting more of those reds, opposed to the oranges where the skin tones tend to lie. Take a quick preview and see what we've affected so far. I'm going to click this little eyeball and turn off our preview, turn it back on, turn it off, turn it back on. You see, there's a huge difference there from those really, really red skin tones that we started off with to something that looks much more natural, even while dealing with mixed lighting. And if this mixed lighting was still like too much for you, maybe you wanted the picture to be a little bit warmer. The window light coming in is still a little too cool for you. We can go ahead and take our eyedropper, click over here in the window, and maybe we can desaturate our blues a little bit, and we can make them darker or we can make them brighter. So if we take a look again, turn off our preview, see where we came from to where we are now, it's great. And you know what? When in doubt, there's always black and white. Problem solved. So what do you think of using this method for adjusting colors and skin tones inside of Lightroom? Are you a fan of the new changes that they made, or are you going to stick to the old methods that you used to use? I personally think it's a little bit quicker than using the color mixer, so I'm a big fan of it. The reason I'm making this video in the first place is because one of my subscribers asked for me to do this. Listen, I'm a photography educator, and I love helping people learn new things. If you ever have a question that you want me to explain further in another video, leave a comment below and I'll be happy to do so. Or if you have any other question related to my workflow or photography, I'll be happy to make a video to help somebody out. If you found this video useful, hit the thumbs up. And if you wish you drank more caffeine today, give me 2 thumbs up. Well, 3, because I think if you click it twice, that means you'll just get rid of the thumbs up. I don't know how YouTube works. I'm just here to try and make videos to help people.